Hey everyone, I'm so excited about today's episode, but first want to let you know that this show is made possible by Fortune Builders. I also want to take a minute to invite you guys to an amazing opportunity to learn from some of the top experts in the real estate industry about how to get started in real estate or scale an existing business to the next level. Fortune Builders is hosting a one-day webinar to help you learn about real estate investing in today's market. So throughout the show, if you feel like you're ready to get started, go to fortunebuildershow.com to register. Again, that's fortunebuildershow.com to register. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you'll find a link right below the show so you can get there that way as well. And please remember that the content of this show and every show is for educational purposes only. Myself or our guests are not going to be providing any legal, financial, or professional advice. If we share specific results, they are attributed to an individual or a business, and we can't guarantee the results will happen for you, those earnings or the income will match those figures. The bottom line is there's always risk when investing in real estate. You can make a lot of money or you can lose a lot of money, and it's hard work. But that doesn't mean we can't have fun doing it. So let's get into today's episode.
From a team that has $1 billion in real estate investment experience. A show to help you learn the strategies and systems it takes to get started investing in real estate. This is the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Fortune Builders Real Estate Investing Show. I am your host, Jeff Rakowski. Man, you have a special episode in store for you today. You don't even realize what is about to happen. I'm not even going to tell you what it is right now. I'm going to just start with the word of the week, and then I'll let you know what's going down. But the word of the week this week is CAW. You heard me right, CAW, C-A-W. And that stands for Celebrate All Wins. And it's an important word that we use around here in Fortune Builders, CT Homes, Equity Street Capital, because it is so important as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to enjoy the journey, to celebrate the wins along the way to the destination that you're going to. I meet so many business owners and entrepreneurs and real estate investors that never stop to smell the roses. It's all about in their mind, I'll relax, I'll do this once I get here. And it always ends up being this moving target that never really happens. It's so important in business and in life to enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride on your way to that destination. So we are celebrating all wins today on this show because we just hit our 25th episode since launching this show in 2021. So we pulled out some of the clips that you have loved the most, that you have got the most value from based on your feedback. And man, you're in for a treat. I mean, you're going to hear from Paul Esajian talking about how do you get into deals using no money out of your own pocket. When I hear that, even as an experienced investor, that is music to my ears. We're always looking for how to do that. You're going to hear the story of, a billionaire, literally a billionaire investor, Mr. Than Merrill, and how he transitioned from the NFL to starting a Mexican restaurant, to losing that restaurant, to getting into the real estate game and now doing it at the highest level. You'll hear many clips from our resident expert, JD Esajian, the CEO of CT Homes, LLC. They just closed 103 properties in 2021, and it was their most profitable year in the company's history. So you're going to hear many tips and techniques in terms of how they made that happen. You'll hear from Mr. Paul Shively walking us through the BRRRR strategy, how to buy properties, renovate those properties, rent them out, refinance them, and then repeat it and do it again and again and again. And then Big V Properties is in the house as well. Big V is a family-owned retail commercial investor. They have about $2 billion of assets under management. And the owners, Jeff Rosenberg and Jason Nidifer, are going to talk to us about how they identify the right markets. How do they pull the trigger on these $100 million, $180 million, $200 million shopping centers? So, man, pull up a chair, get out some notes, and enjoy. Let's go.
how do you raise money for your deals? How do you get money for your deals? Well, one thing that people don't realize is that really the way that we started and the way that we can help and teach other people to start is you have to start by doing creative real estate. So what does that mean? That's a pretty kind of broad statement, but remember I told you we bought that first 876 Elm conventional financing, went to a bank, put whatever it was, 20% down or 25%, then you're out of money. That don't work if you're trying to get, on the treadmill of buying and owning a bunch of real estate. But what we started to learn is that you can buy properties with no money. You can take a property subject to. If you're hearing that for the first time, that's not assuming the loan, but that's taking ownership of a property. The deed goes from the seller's name to your name with the mortgage still in place, and you honor that mortgage by paying it and keeping the insurance requirements the same way as if it and keep it in place. So that's you don't use your own credit. You don't ask the bank for a loan, right? It comes with the house.
Yeah.
You can do seller financing. Someone who owns a house, either free and clear or not free and clear, can, just like we taught the private lender, they can be the bank and they can take back a note.
Exactly.
There's, when properties are in trouble, you can short sale the property from banks and kind of work on that. So there's a lot of creative strategies that, frankly, when we started in 2004, for like those first 5 years, we did a lot of creative financing. We did a ton of subject twos. We did a ton of seller financing. You want to know why?
Right.
Because we had no money. So we had to be creative. Unfortunately, when you have resources and means, we're not as creative anymore. It's like, well, we'll just buy it for cash because we have to. But when you start, I love that period. I love that period where you're forced to innovate and be creative. But the thing I can just really excite people with is we have the answers to the test.
Yes, we do.
And we're not the first ones to do it.
Yeah.
There is a roadmap. There's tools on how to buy a property with no money. There's tools on, and look, if you have more money, it's easier to buy more properties and you'll get there. But there's tools if your credit sucks where you don't need your credit.
Right.
So it's just those points as we learned them got us more in love with real estate and the business. And then, I know everybody's not like this, but we love to learn.
Yeah.
And me and my partners, when we started learning, we would, to grow our business in, because people ask, why do you have an education company? I love this question. It's always the question, well, if you're so successful, why do you teach it, right?
Exactly.
And it's a valid question. I'm on board with it. And so you kind of have to understand the origin of how we got started. We got started, my two partners that we have now, my brother, myself, they went to Yale. I went to University of California. But none of that education taught us what we do today.
Yeah.
We had to learn from whoever would teach us, and we're very grateful for that. But that's not why we teach. I'm gonna share. We started as we're learning to grow our business in CT Homes in New Haven, Connecticut. And frankly, this is how we met you. Yeah. We went in our local real estate club. We would host what we call rehab subgroups. We would host, or if we, once we kind of were learning, we said, hey, we'll volunteer to teach the mistakes we're making and the lessons we're learning. Yes. But we did that so that we could meet more people that would be private lenders to our deals, that would buy our deals, if we wholesale them to them, which we haven't explained that, or so we could buy rehab deals. So we did it as a version as a necessity to grow our business. But what we found is as we started sharing our business processes and systems, we loved it. Because when you teach, and this is the fortune builder principle. A lot of people also ask, like, the fortune builders, what's behind the name? Why? A true fortune builder is someone who learns something and then reteaches it. Because when you teach something, you learn it twice.
That's right.
And you master it. And what we found is as we were tasked with recommunicating and reteaching, our systems got better. Yeah. We got improved execution, because if we're saying we're going to do it, you got to keep the discipline, and we improved upon it. So we really started it as a necessity to grow our business, but it's something that, we love it, right? Absolutely. When we're in our topic, and I can't talk on too many topics as John in college learned, right? But on this one, you get me talking. If you're willing to listen, I'll keep going.
Yeah. One thing on the private money you used to tell me in the beginning, and honestly, I kind of thought you were crazy when you said it, but you said, Jeff, it's going to take work to get out there and start, raising private money, and maybe awkward. You're going to stumble at first, but there will come a time where people are begging you to loan you the money instead of you asking. I remember approaching the first couple and kind of going with my tail between my legs and, would you maybe kind of, want to
Yeah,
give me
very
$500,000.
soft, like, will you lend me
you
the
know,
money?
and my latest deal, I just closed it last week in Virginia, and it was 2 text messages. Hey,
Yeah,
small deal, need $100,000. Who
yeah,
wants it? And boom,
yeah.
boom, right away.
And it's
Amazing.
really you awarding the opportunity to someone.
That's right.
I just, again, when I teach this topic, which we're not teaching it necessarily right now, but in the class I just came out of for 2 days, the Money Academy here at Fortune Builders, I tell people there's a paradigm shift, right? And you have to understand this. Actually, before you go asking for money, you're not asking for their money as much as you're giving them an opportunity. And that was my point earlier. You're either putting your money in a checking account, a savings account, a CD, or the ups and downs of the stock market. Who has the opportunity to lend their money secured by a real asset that you buy at a discounted value? Because we have a buying formula, right? We have buying software, our Mayo formula, our deal analyzer. And it's insured, it's securitized on the land record, so nothing can happen until that asset is, transacted. And you have a promissory note, which all the terms will pay you back. Who has that opportunity? It's not out there.
Right.
It's not out there. Now, in our little circle, everyone thinks that that's common knowledge. It's not. If you just move, as I say, if you move your feet and you move your mouth, and you're the one month over month, year over year, consistently, and you're the real estate person in your friends, family, church, community, eventually, like you've experienced, Jeff, now people are calling you, hey, Jeff, I have a friend, they have a house, they need help. Can you buy it? Right? Or I have a friend, he'd love to learn more about how you're paying him 10%. Will you take his money? Right?
Yeah, I'll think about it.
So, they need us. Money needs those of us that are willing to put in the work, put in the education, and do this more than we need them. I know it doesn't seem like that, but there's more money out there than there are of us doing this.
Well, we're going to start bringing this to a close here a little bit then, but I got to know, why are you so passionate about teaching others? You're very successful on your own. I'm with you as you leave family and travel across the country to teach students and these one-day virtual events. Why are you so passionate about that?
Real estate changed my life. It changed my life. It gave me something to be passionate about before. Really, my only passion was football, and that was my greatest joy.
Yeah.
And after football, I was searching for something that I would have any sort of passion for, and I couldn't really find it until we got involved in real estate. So financially, it changed my life, but more importantly, I think it gave me purpose. And what I've realized, teaching, that's the gift you're giving to other people. You're allowing them to change their lives financially, which transforms their lives personally, which, we have students who do the business with their sons and daughters and create this special relationship they'll remember for the rest of their lives. We have students who do it with their best friends. We have students, husband and wife teams, and getting involved in investing, having a common purpose, a passion. It gives them more life fulfillment. And so I think it really empowers people to become the best version of themselves. And I think it's very rewarding, obviously, to improve your own life financially, but it's equally rewarding, if not more rewarding, to help other people transform their lives. So that's why we teach. That's what we've been doing for a long time, and we love doing it.
And what is, we talk a lot about in Fortune Builders, your why, and obviously I've watched you over the years, man, and you're so driven. Anything you put your mind to, you focus on, whether it's real estate. 2 years ago, you said, I want to start playing basketball, right? And in 2 years, you're almost as good as I am. It's just amazing. When
if people are wondering why I have this black eye, it's from Jeff. He has very sharp elbows when we play basketball.
He tried to bring the ball into my house, and I
don't remember it that way. I remember a lot of flailing on your part, and elbows flying. But that's what I remember.
All right, well, we'll leave that for another show. But but what is it that drives you?
Today it's my family, my friends, and the students that we serve. I think those are the 3 areas that I focus the majority of my time on, and I enjoy doing it. We teach people around the country, and it's really inspirational to hear people's stories and what they do with the information. I've always believed in giving people an opportunity. What they do with it is up to them. We have some students who don't do anything with the information. We have other students who change their lives. So it's amazing when you get with somebody who's motivated and driven, and you give them the tools and a process to go out there and follow, and they have success doing it. And then I'm a student. I love learning. So every single day I'm reading, I'm trying to better myself in some way, just like a lot of people probably listening right now. One of the reasons you're listening is you're doing the same thing. You're trying to improve yourself as opposed to watching, just a show on Netflix. It might be an entertaining show. This type of show can make a profound difference, if you continue to self-educate yourself. And I think self-education is really what can transform someone's life.
Agreed. I mean, that's one of the things I'm very, thankful to you for in my life. I hated learning growing up. Wasn't the best student and just had a hard time engaging in traditional education. But you really taught me to fall in love with learning, right? And we got a cheesy little slogan we use, but it's so true. The more you learn, the more you earn.
Very true.
Just as you keep learning, you'll see your finances usually rise alongside of that. But 2 more questions we're going to get you out with this is, I heard you say one time, obviously you're talented in many areas, but I heard you say one time that you are put on this earth. Like the one thing that you can do better than anything else is to help people or for yourself set and hit goals. And we actually have an ultimate entrepreneur camp we, do once a year, and you teach a series. But a couple quick tips on somebody getting into the business, how to, or forget the business, just in life, setting and hitting goals.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is forming an identity around what you're trying to accomplish. So if you're, a lot of people, let's say they take up a new sport and they're trying golf for the first time. I think people have a hard time becoming a good golfer until they self-identify as a golfer.
Wow.
So getting into real estate investing, it was new to me, but I realized, I'm an investor. That is who I am. This is my identity. And that gives you a greater sense of passion and purpose. And so whatever field you're looking to improve upon, I think you first have to identify that is you. If that is in your core system, your blood, that is who you are. You meet the best athletes, you ask them who they are. I'm a basketball player. That's what I am. Or I'm this. They truly believe. And so I think if you want to be a good investor, the first thing you have to do is you have to really, truly believe you are a good investor. And you have to identify as an investor. When people ask you what you do for work, hopefully you may do something else on a day-to-day, but hopefully in that conversation, you let them know I'm an investor. This is what I do.
So, you have just on this first page right here,
6 really major points.
6 things from, signing backup positions to 9 to 90-day closes, to 24-hour closes, to the deposit amounts you're putting down, additional terms, all of these different things. Where would you like to start? How do you want to kick this off?
I think we start from the top. I'll to kind of set it up, really what we do and what I think investors should focus on is helping other people.
Okay.
Right. So everyone has a reason why, if we're talking about buying, which we are now, has a reason why they're selling. Now, you may be talking to the homeowner directly because you've sent out some marketing or you've generated leads online or you're door knocking, or you may be talking through a real estate agent.
Right.
But nevertheless, you still want to find out why someone's selling, because if you don't know why they're selling or what their hardship is, if you will, sometimes financial, sometimes actually physical in their body, sometimes it's situational. If you don't know that, you're never going to write the strongest offer.
Man, that's so good. I mean, we could stop right there, to be honest. That's so good. I mean, I remember early on in my career, the biggest mistake I probably made was assuming price was the most important thing to every seller.
It's only one term in the offer.
It is, right? And typically investors, we have our number and we hyper focus on that. But if you don't take the time to understand what people want, you really can't serve them and help them at the highest level.
And that's fundamental in anything we'll talk about here at CT Homes or at training and systems and education at Fortune Builders, because when you come from that place, it's the right way to do business, number one. Let's not go past that. And also, as importantly, you can help someone and understand what they really need. Do they need to move quickly? Do they not need to move quickly? Do they know where they're going? Do they need help going where they're going?
Exactly.
Do they need cash faster in some capacity, even before the transactions close? And there are ways to facilitate that, like literally getting someone money in their pocket before you own the home. Safely, securely, so that they can have money they need to put deposit down on the next place they're going to buy or rent. And if you write an offer that way that answers that major problem for them, even when someone is writing an offer that's higher, they may look at yours and say, man, Jeff, your offer is it's not as high priced as this other one.
Yes.
But man, you're solving 5 other things that I didn't know that I didn't get solved in these other offers.
That's beautiful, man. That's good sales.
Yeah, so Burr is something that has taken off in the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years. It's really exploded on, a lot of the real estate blogs and a lot of the kind of online space that real estate investors participate in. And so Burr is, buy, Burr, B with a whole bunch of R's after it, stands for buy, right?
Yep.
Renovate it. So buy, renovate, rent it out, refinance it, and then repeat. Right, so Burr.
Yeah.
So basically, and it's a great way to get started because it's really popular right now because a lot of folks are recognizing it as a way to get started in real estate with little to no money, right? And it's a sexy topic, right? A lot of people can relate to it. What's interesting though is I see advanced investors who have the ability to, invest their own capital as well too, take that and put it into the classification of like a passive investment.
Okay.
As like a rental, because it is a rental. It's a rental strategy.
Sure.
But what it really designed to do. It's another way to be on the active side, like JD is, and flip a house, but still control it on the back end, which is phenomenal. So if your goals and objectives are, I'm okay spending time, putting in the sweat equity, putting in the energy, rolling up my sleeves, and getting a ton of time into this thing.
Yeah.
And my objective is not to create a $20,000, $30,000, whatever the profit number is, right? I would rather take the smaller residual income that continues to come from rent.
Sure.
Basically, you're doing a flip, and instead of selling it, you're refinancing it, and you hold it for the cash flow. So it's a wonderful strategy to get started into real estate. And the one thing we'll talk about is time's your best friend in real estate, right? So the earlier you get started, it's a wonderful strategy to get off the shelf. But what I liken it to is my one thing I would say people should remember with the Burr strategies, it's let's be ands, not ors.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the only thing.
So good.
Right? Like I meet and have met some, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds who are super successful with Burr and do 10, 15, 20 a year. And they're killing it. They're doing wonderful. And I'll talk to them and like, okay, well, what's your passive income strategy? Oh, well, Burr. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, Burr takes a whole ton of time and effort and energy. How many times are you saying I did X on my Burr? Well, that's not passive then, my friend. So let's create 2 railroad tracks. Burr can be a wonderful active railroad track, but let's invest some of those profits passively to create that time ownership as well too, right? Create both. You need 2 railroad tracks to get to where you want to go.
You might have the investors that have dialed that in to where they do spend very little time on it. But like you said, it's still an active investment strategy, which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's an awesome strategy.
Diversification and taking some of those proceeds or refinance profits and putting into things that are truly passive.
Exactly. And that's my ballywick, right? Like that's my whole job here at Fortune Builders. My job at Equity Street is like we create passive streams. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. Like I love Burr, but it's interesting because I think a piece of education is being able to create an active income stream and a passive income stream in real estate for yourself is vital to an actual well-rounded real estate business.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting you say that because I hear that all the time. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the clips so far. We have a lot more to come, but I just want to jump in really quick, as always, and extend a special invitation to those of you listening today. If you're interested in becoming a real estate investor, whether full-time, whether buying some investment properties around your existing career, we have an offer, as always, for a free class. Pretty much happens every single week, where you can learn how to make that dream a reality, where you can learn how to overcome that objection. Oh, I don't have any money. How do I invest? They answer that question. I don't know where to find distressed properties. They'll answer that question for you. I don't know where to find good contractors. They'll share a system for that. So if you're really thinking about becoming a real estate investor, make this the week where you take action. Right below this video, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see a URL, fortunebuildershow.com. If you're listening through an audio platform, type that in your URL. That'll give you a ticket to a one-day training with one of our top trainers that over the years have walked thousands and thousands and thousands of students and people just like you through the process of going from zero to having the confidence to take action in real estate. I hope you grab your ticket and I hope you enjoy. Let's get back into the show.
my job as the seller is to find the best buyer for the home.
That's right.
And Tad, sometimes that's a combination, of course, of price, but it's also a combination of terms that your clients write. And as importantly, how good the agent is that's representing that buyer, you.
Correct.
So what I'm doing there is I'm being clear with what we're looking for, but I'm also selling us and him on why they should work with us as a seller.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about qualifying questions later, but sales, as you know, is influence, it's
That's
emotion,
right. That's right.
it's asking good questions, it's having something that someone wants and delivering a great experience. So that's very important. And if you don't start out of the gate that way and look for the best buyer, great agent, or what you feel is a great agent, strong terms, great price, then the transaction is never going to start out on the right tone.
Yeah.
And so there's just so much. I could literally talk, which I won't do, for the next 45 minutes about that, like communication there, because I have a whole system, and we have a whole system at CT Homes for kind of qualifying agents and buyers independent of what their numbers and terms are on paper.
Sure.
You know, how many houses have they looked at? Have they been beat out on other properties? Do they understand what the market's doing?
Huh.
And so that if this is the first home that this family looked at, they've never offered on anything else.
Right. They don't know what they're in for.
They don't know what they're in for.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they're not going to be a good buyer, won't buy the home.
Sure.
But in the market that we're in now, we really want someone that's somewhat seasoned and understand what it's going to take to get the home. They're going to be willing to remove contingencies faster. They may close faster. They're going to be less picky on a home inspection. And so it starts out of the gate with how you communicate.
I love it. So what are some things that you would see outside of price that would disqualify an offer, you know, from the agent standpoint, from other terms? What are things that would concern
besides
you?
Price and terms?
Yeah. Well, outside of price.
Outside of price. So in this market now, which is obviously a strong seller's market, if someone wasn't willing to either waive an appraisal contingency or have an amount of money that they felt they were comfortable bringing above an appraisal.
Gotcha.
The reason I say that is because certainly in this market, in the seller's market, lots of times people are needing to write an offer that is above what someone's asking for.
Yeah.
This is the case with the home that we're talking about here. So from a seller's standpoint, if someone's willing to put that on paper, but they're not willing to pay that number if it doesn't appraise, then why are they putting it on paper?
That's right.
Right. And I'll ask an agent that question.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. An extended amount of time on their inspections. You know, in California, our standard contract has 17 days. But if you're writing an 18-day close or a 21-day close and you have 70 days in inspection, there's something that they're concerned about or something that I want to flush out before we go into contract with that person. So those are a couple of big ones. I mean, independent of price and terms, a lot of it is what I hear from the agent.
Yeah.
You know, and so for example, talking about asking qualifying questions, when an agent calls on one of our properties that we have for sale, I'm not only I'm asking them questions to have them sell us on why we should work with them. So Tad,
I love it.
Tad, I have your clients looked at other homes? Yes, they have. Can you tell me how many and how that experience went? And this is a great question here. There's other homes on the market, Tad. What was it about our listing on San Vicente that your clients really fell in love with and sparked them to write an offer and then stop talking? And then Tad's either going to say, or the agent's going to say something that sells you on why you should talk, why you should look at their offer seriously, or they're going to fumble over their words and be like, well, this is the first house they looked at, or, you know, so depending on what they say, that will steer us and should steer us in the direction of understanding, are they a serious buyer and are they the right buyer for this home?
Man, you're right. We actually could spend all day on that episode. You're touching on so many powerful
There's
principles.
A lot more too.
Number one way to sell something is not sell it, but have them sell you.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you're doing right there. Like I mentioned in the beginning, a variety of people that are going to listen to this episode, you know, watch it on social media, etc. You'll have, you know, people like yourself, experienced investors, all the way down to somebody looking for their first commercial deal. What would be, going back, knowing what you know now, 30 years of experience, 20 years, what would be your top tip, your top piece of advice for those listening today? Do you want to start, Jeff?
Oh, geez, I'll start. You know, we've talked about it already. Education.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that in the end, you know, that's what Jason and I are talking about. Educating yourself, understanding your business, and really taking a deep dive and spending the time, effort, and energy to really know what you're involved in, because then you can make a decision like we made last year.
Yes.
Right. Because that decision was not made in a bubble. Right. No. Our decision to acquire in that environment was not made in a bubble. It was made because, as Jason shared and we shared, we're educated, we understand our business, we believe in what we do.
Yes.
And it was what we thought was a reasonable risk.
I love it. I love it. What about you, Jason? What's the top tip?
Well, I'll play off of that a little bit and say that it's about pulling the trigger when you're prepared and you're convicted versus this, we call it paralysis of analysis.
Yes.
And sitting over here, whether that means you're buying your own property or you're investing with someone or whatever that is, to sit on the sideline and just think through all these different reasons why not to do it instead of just doing it. And I've always found for us, once we've prepared, we're convicted in our beliefs of how this is going to work and why it's going to work,
Yes.
we pull the trigger. And it's worked out well.
Man, I love it. And you have the system. We have, if it checks these boxes, nothing else to think about, right? You take action, and that's a great tip. I see so many investors, just get caught up with, all right, everything looks good, but why? And the bottom line is, if you think of reasons not to do something, you'll find lots of them.
So what I like to do when we're listing it with another agent that isn't us or isn't in our office is we sit down and we collaborate. We hear their marketing plan, we go over our marketing plan, and we weave them together so that they're a part of the process. And part of that is professional photos, of course, the things that we've talked about, staging. And what we do with our photos, besides the MLS, is what you mentioned. We push them out on our social media platforms. We definitely put them on our website. We push them out to any agents that we may know that could have buyers, et cetera. And so we use these tools together with our agent. In this case, a woman that we work a lot with named Tammy in our local market is listing this. So Tammy, puts a listing together with, our feedback and guidance around photos. The other thing that's really important is the description, which is a pretty common thing that gets looked at on a listing, but how that gets written, meaning do you put everything new flooring, new paint, new landscaping, or do you tell a story? And we tell a story.
Yeah.
Are you selling a newly landscaped backyard, or are you selling a private backyard oasis?
Yeah, that's so huge, and you see most people do that. It's just new floors, new roofs, HVAC, all of this stuff.
A lot of people do.
And then this is something that you want to remember. I remember my coach taught me this years ago, and it applies here. But facts tell, stories sell.
Oh, that's good.
Facts tell, stories sell.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah,
right here.
that's it, man. So what type of story was told on this property right here?
So the story is what someone's going to feel when they go into the home. A private backyard oasis that we already showed pictures of.
Yes.
A custom spa-like retreat like this picture we're looking at right now. That's a newly renovated bathroom, but it's also a custom spa-like retreat. So unwind at the end of a busy day in your custom spa-like retreat. Spend time creating memories with family and friends in your private backyard oasis. I can go all day, but this is the stories that we're telling of this house. And when we're writing the description, we're writing it from their point of view. So it's not a house or the house or CT Homes house. Sure. It's their house.
Their house.
So when they're reading it, they're reading it from that place.
From that perspective. That's brilliant. I mean, it draws up emotion.
Yes.
And it's so, I mean, like you described it, backyard oasis versus, brand new sod or brand new fencing. Fencing, pergola, whatever it is. Yeah, that's brilliant.
So that's how we blend the photos with the description, which is the start of a great listing, right? The amount of photos, the order of the photos, the way the description's written. Obviously, we can talk. Pricing strategy is important too. The house is obviously going to be worth something based off of what the market is telling us. Do you list it at that number? Do you list it in a range if you can, or do you list it below that? To try to be the most competitive, price on paper.
Yes.
To get more people in there.
Yeah, let's talk about that because why don't we kick it off there? What and why should a real estate investor be looking at in their market on a weekly basis?
So, most people understand right now that the real estate market's been on fire. Yeah. On fire is actually an understatement. That isn't always the case. Regardless of what the market's doing, up, down, sideways, backwards, these are the things that are good to look at every week. Yep. You want to look at the amount in your zip code, in your city, in your county, wherever you're investing. You want to look at the amount of new listings that come on the market.
New listings.
And we look at it every week. And most realtor associations track that. Yep. And that's the best place to pull that information. So the amount of new listings that come on every week. You also want to look at the amount of properties that go pending
Right.
each week.
Right.
All right. And you also want to look at the amount of new solds that happen each week.
Yep.
The other thing you want to look at is the median price point and how that changes week over week.
That's right.
Now, those are some of the really big ones. There are others, but those are the ones that we're always looking at. And then you also want to look at the total amount of available inventory
Yes.
in your marketplace. So the number of units. Now, you can track it by like detached single family, or of course you can look at and should look at it overall, townhomes, condos, things like that,
That's
attached,
right.
detached. So the total amount of inventory that's available at that time period. And
Yeah.
you want to look at those things. You want to track it every week. If you really want to get sexy, you can graph it and chart it like we
Ooh.
do,
Ooh.
so that you can see
That
it
is
over
sexy.
time. It's super sexy.
Yeah.
Nothing sexier than a bar graph, Jeff.
No, I mean,
When you're talking about KPIs.
KPIs, yes.
And so those are the key ones that we're looking at in our marketplace. There are other ones that we look at, like the percentage of list price
Sure.
that is received in
Sure.
the overall county, but we'll talk about some of those when we get into the individual departments. So once again, total amount of new listings that come on, total amount of properties that are pending,
Yep.
the total amount of properties that get sold, and then you also want to look at the median price point. And we look at this, and I would suggest everyone do this every single week.
Yeah.
You know, say I have a property locked up and I'm going to sell it to you, but Jeff, you found a 17 unit in Idaho.
Okay.
Hey, I don't want to buy your condo anymore, you know.
Got it.
But JD, you know, he's behind me. At least I get that information to the escrow company as quick as possible. So identifying that would be really, really important.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. You know, I think a good question that would actually help the audience is obviously, I mean, if you're doing business here in Southern California, we would highly recommend Justin.
Absolutely.
If you're, working in one of the 49 states across the country outside of California, what are some good questions an investor should be asking an escrow company to make sure that, because you mentioned earlier, obviously you're doing thousands of transactions. You talked about assignments and wholesaling. You know, I've talked to a lot of escrow title companies that aren't even familiar with that process, right? So we're running a wholesaling business. But what do you think are some of the major questions that, should be asked to an escrow company?
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, one would be, what type of escrow transactions do you guys do?
Okay.
You know, whether it's condo, mobile home, commercial, business, bulk, assignment, wholesale, double, all that other good stuff.
Starting question.
Yeah.
Ask them what type of transactions and are they comfortable doing them? You know, and it's okay. There's no right or wrong answer. Honesty is the best policy here. And then also having a meeting with them. Hey, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm looking to do. How can you assist me in my business?
Yeah.
Or how can I become better? Again, it goes back to being a student.
Right.
One thing would be, what do you work with any other investors?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of my qualifying questions with contractors or subs. Have you worked with another investor?
Yeah.
If they say no and they only go directly to the consumer, might not be the type of person I want to work with as an investor. Investors are typically nimble, they're quick, they want to move things a little bit faster, and they work nonstop. The other thing would be, what are some of the pitfalls that they have seen in their state while working with investors?
There you go.
You know,
That's a great question.
Because a lot of times they're gonna say, hey, we work with a Fortune Builder student in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Hey, and this guy, well, actually, let's call it a girl, Jessica. She does a ton of deals, and she's uncovered this. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good information. Yeah. That's really important information to add into your checklist. Yeah.
All right, there you go. Those are the top clips of our first 25 episodes. Hope you loved it. Hope you enjoyed it. We are excited to keep this show going. We love your feedback. Many of the guests that we bring in are based off of what you want to hear more. So keep sharing that feedback with us on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. Direct message the team, myself, whoever. We want to hear your feedback. And really in 2022, we have some big things in store. We're going to get Than, Paul, Conrad back in here. These guys are in the game every single day, doing it at the highest level. So we want to continue to bring, hot off the press, fresh content from them. We have some big name guests that we're working on and lining up. Just actually some of Than's mentors that we want to bring and expose to this community. But we appreciate you following us, and we appreciate you sharing us with others. Our mission here at Fortune Builders is to empower your purpose through financial education. So if you know somebody in your life, in your world, that could benefit from this type of education, this type of content, we would be honored if you share us with them. Take care, everyone. See you next week.